Welcome back to Transcendence Magnetized. I'm Stephanie Beausheur.
And I'm Kristin Pierce.
For months, we've navigated the historical battlefields of spiritual warfare, arming you with our protocols and analyzing the evidence submitted by those living on the front lines. But there's a fundamental truth in work. The most devastating evidence is always the first-hand account.
Exactly. We have always promised that if you submit your deepest, most detailed paranormal stories, you would have the chance to move beyond a simple reading and join us in the transmission room. Today, that phase begins.
We're officially entering the testimony phase of our podcast. Today, we are honored to welcome our first very featuring of a guest. They answered the call, they bravely submitted their personal field report, and now they are here to share the full, unfiltered account of their own journey into the unexpectable.
This isn't just a story. It's an intimate, deep dive into an event that fundamentally altered their reality.
Please join us to welcome our guest, Chance M. Thank you for coming forward and trusting us with your profound experience.
We promised you depth. Let the transmission begin.
To kick things off, Chance M., I've heard a glimpse of your experiences, but for our listeners who are meeting you for the first time, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am a 25-year-old male. I truck drive for a living, so I cross all sorts of the United States. I'm a big outdoorsman. I hunt and I fish. I like to hike and be outside, and I got a 4-year-old German Shepherd that me and her go on adventures to all the time.
That's so fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to obviously jump on here. I know Chance is one of my clients, but he has definitely became one of my amazing friends. And I'm super excited to have you on. I also love his dog. His dog is amazing and she's adorable. And she's always with him all the time, every time I talk with him. But I know Kristin's going to start us off with questions. So Kristin, let's start.
For today's transmission, Chance, what is one of your detailed paranormal encounters do you feel is the most crucial testimony for our listeners to hear first?
Probably my first experience dealing with any of this. That goes back several years now, probably going on 7 years ago. I was at home. I had just got home from work. I used to work for this amusement park, and I used to live in the basement of my old house. And there was a doorway that had like a light that you could like see through, like you could like shone to like in the basement, like lit up the entire basement. In this back room, it like you could only see the light if you were standing in like the doorway, or the lights were completely off. And I'm laying there in bed, trying to go to sleep, relaxing, and all of a sudden that light just like goes out, or I thought either the light went out or my door was closed. So I'm sitting there kind of laid up in bed, and I like reach forward because like a wall just barely blocking my view for the door. I lean forward and I just see my door closing. I'm like, no, I'm out. Like, no, that's anything for me. I watch many scary movies for this stuff. Like, no, I'm out. So I go flying up the stairs into my actual bedroom because it was so hot. At the time, my house didn't have the AC turned on, so I was like, nope, I'm out. Go back upstairs. Don't care how hot it is. I gotta get out of here. Well, later on that night, about 3 a.m., I had two police officers come knock on my door saying, hey, You're the last person to see this person alive. You know where they're at. And yeah, I actually did know where they were at. I ended up giving them the officers the information that they needed, and they were able to keep the person safe and sound.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely an encounter for sure. And there's no coincidence of it. And obviously, that definitely was a defining moment for your belief, right? So, how much would you say before that you were maybe skeptical to then how much it actually made you become a little more open about it? You know what I mean? Like, how much did it differentiate that in that moment at that time?
Right. I was always like skeptical. Like I always thought there could be something out there, but I wasn't 100% sure. I've seen all these paranormal activity movies when I'm like, and even because I do read the Bible, it's like they talks about it in the Bible. I'm like, it hasn't happened to me personally, so is it real? Is it not real? I thought maybe it could be real, especially because it's in the Bible. I'm a big believer of it, so I'm like, okay, it could be real. It left me open-minded for sure, but when that happened, I was like, yeah, no, I'm a 100% believer. But before, I'd say I was like a 45% believer into it just because my faith did mention it. So, but yeah, after that, for sure, I was a huge believer.
No, I think that's a really cool perspective in a way for that kind of thing to open up your mind to the possibility that these things could be real. Is there anything out of the ordinary on any of your stories that you had this feeling of intuition that anything was about to happen?
Um, there's a few I can give you, and one actually didn't happen to me. Um, actually, one happened to my late grandfather. Um, I apologize if I say anything wrong on this one, but me and him were hunting together, and we were going back to our vehicle, and all of a sudden he just kind of like fell back and let me take the lead. I mean, there was a probably good 10, 20 foot gap in between me and him, and I look back just to make sure he's all right because he was up there in age. Just make sure he was all right. He said, yeah, he's like he's fine. He's just taking his time and keep going on. I was like, okay. And I stepped onto this field where our truck was, and I looked to my right, and sure enough, there's a deer just standing there, and I was able to actually harvest that deer and take it with me. And when my grandfather actually caught up to me, he said he someone told him to slow down and let me take the lead on that, and so I could do what I did, and I was like, it's kind of neat. He was a big believer in faith as well, as the same as me. Another one I can give you, which is more probably what people are wanting to hear, is me and my buddies went for a drive one night. Been down this road several times, some back road out here in the boonies, and never had an issue before, right? And at the time the person I was seeing, we were in the truck and we were going to switch drivers because they were trying to learn how to drive. I was like, okay, it's no problem, back roads, no cops, no nothing, dirt roads. And we stopped to switch. And all of a sudden she goes, hey, do you feel that? I'm like, feel what? And as soon as I said that, I mean, it was like somebody took a sledgehammer or I don't know, just something like super forceful, like punched me in my chest, my gut, and said, "You need to get out of here, like right this instant. Like go." Like it was enough for me to like, cause I carry a handgun because it's legal here in my state, and I mean, I whipped that thing out because I mean it was 100% like somebody was hunting me and trying to physically harm me. It freaked me out because we've never had this issue. Though. I mean, we're out in the middle of like nowhere where no one should be. And I was like, we gotta go. She's like, forget, forget, switching drivers and let me drive. Just get us out of here. And I watched my speedometer. We had to go. I think 10 to 15 miles out before it stopped. Whatever that feeling was stopped completely. So whatever it was, like I feel like chased us out of there. And I was like, maybe it was just a one-off, right? So I went back with another friend group. Instantly, same thing, because my friend is like kind of an empath as well, and she's like, "No, we gotta go." Like even before we arrived, she's like, "This doesn't feel right." I'm like, something bad has happened here. Something very demonic has happened here. We need to get out of here now, because whatever it is does not want us here, and it will harm us completely if we don't get out of here. I was like, "All right, we gotta go." And they said they felt extremely drained and tired once they came back from that ride. And I was like, wow, okay. So it wasn't just me. So I'm kind of glad that wasn't just like a one-off thing. And I haven't been back since. I don't think I'll ever go back either.
I think that's a great call, my friend, not to go back to an area like that if it gives you the cringe, if you understand what I'm saying. So that is definitely, as you're talking about that story, can I share my personal experience, what I'm seeing when I'm
Yeah.
hearing this story? When I hear this story, I see something on all fours running, which is wild because for our listeners, I get a lot of visuals when people are sharing kind of paranormal and or spiritual experiences. And 1,000% something's on all fours running. And I think it was when you guys were driving away the first time and you said it took miles to get that thing away from your energy orbit. I could feel it for sure off of you just talking about that. And I would love to hear if Kristin picked up on anything energetically as she's hearing that. But I don't want to eliminate about your grandfather. I think that's a beautiful thing, how you guys can have that connection spiritually where he is getting inklings on slowing down and allowing you to take the lead. I'm sure that was like a beautiful bonding experience, especially when you can have it with a family member that they're in tune and they're picking up things. So I think that's really beautiful. But I would love to hear Kristin's input on anything that she was feeling off of your situations too. Kristin?
No, the one in the car with your friends, the first time, you could feel how dense that energy felt when you were talking about it, when it was coming off of your words. And then when you mentioned the second time, it's almost like my breath stopped because you could feel the inkling of what was about to happen. And so that was a story.
Yeah, I mean, I can still, like, it still freaks me out to this day. I can still feel the heaviness from it all from that experience. Anytime I tell that story to people, I'm like, they're like, you look a little tired, or like, you look like a little different after you tell it. I'm like, yeah, I just can still feel that energy going, like just that fight or flight response, and I've never felt that before. And I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm scared of the dark, but I know what could potentially be out there. So I'm more of like aware what's out there, and I kind of like just look out for myself, really. I mean, because you just don't know what could happen, and unfortunately, my mortal gun isn't going to do jack diddly against these things, other than make him angry.
Definitely enticing their energy, right? And that's exactly what they want. So smart move. I think that is very intelligent. I think it's also pretty brave for you to go to the same location and feel the same energy and just make sure it's really accurate. That means it impacted you so much that you were drawn back there going, is this actually accurate? Is it very true? And I've been there. I know Kristin's been there when it comes to energies, and we have to double check and triple check our resources of what we're feeling a lot of the time. I cleanse houses and other people's energies and stuff like that. So I definitely encounter this all the time. When I feel something off of somebody, I go, let me check in on them and make sure that's not coming back, or just making sure things are solid because things shift and it can be a continuation sometimes. So that kind of leads me into asking you, because you clearly have a lot of experiences. I mean, I can tell just double story right off the bat. So with that, what is the one key detail about any of your experiences that you think is like one of the most important, that it taught you a lot of different things up front when you went through the experience? Is there anything that recollects like that?
Like a listen to your gut type thing? Because I mean, that would be for sure one thing. I mean, listen to your senses because your senses are there for a reason. I mean, your sight, your hearing, but not only that, some people talk about a sixth sense, and some people either, some people believe in it, and some people don't. But it's like it's there. I mean, I've never felt, because as a hunter, I used to go out in the woods all the time when it's dark and not, Of course, I was kind of not as aware, but I was like, yeah, it's whatever. I know there's things out here that can hurt me, but no big deal. But now it's like, okay, I know there's physical things that can out here that can hurt me, but now what's out here spiritually? Just listen to listening to my gut was the biggest thing because like my senses picked up on it. And that's the first time I felt like I was being hunted. So I was like, nope, I'm out. So I mean, listen to your senses for sure. If you ever find yourself in a situation like that, or even if it's like nothing spiritual, if it's even humanized, like people all the time, you hear about first responders and everybody getting into that fight or flight mode, and it's like, yeah, listen to your senses. They're there for a reason, and they slows down time for you, and it's to hopefully make sure that you make the right decision in that split second. So I've had that feeling too, where like time slows. I'm like, okay, we can now go back to full speed, and like hopefully I made the right decision and don't jeopardize myself or my friends even more.
Absolutely, dude. Do you have anything that would be as a recommendation for people that are trying to like kind of feel that sixth sense that you recognize that would help them a little bit? Because obviously you feel it quite a bit, but just from coming from another source, right? Like me and Kristin connect
Right.
in a different way and we tap in many ways and we coach it too. But I want to hear it from just a person who doesn't do spirituality every day. Like, what do you feel like really heightened that sixth sense for you specifically?
Honestly, I would just, gosh, I would say probably just the life experiences that I've been through. A lot of it has to do with me being outdoors because a lot of things, I mean, not just in the hunting aspect, hunting, things can happen, but just being outdoors and hiking, people will talk about the Appalachian Trail and going out west and, going to the SW Ranch and stuff happening to them out there in the normal world. Yeah, I mean, I think the more outside you get, the more you can pick up on, is there something behind me? Is there something following me? 'Cause I get that all the time when I'm out in the woods, or not all the time, I shouldn't say that, but I've had that happen too when I'm out doing my activities where it's like I feel like somebody's stalking me, but I know there's no one out there but me and my friends. So I'm like, what could this be? And I just kind of safeguard myself, and my friends question me, but as an outside person, I just say probably kind of don't push the limits of whatever it is, but kind of push yourself to kind of get out there and try something new or try to put yourself in that situation, but put yourself, yeah, just kind of put yourself out there and see what happens. 'Cause that's the only way I think you're gonna get that sixth sense, or for your body to trigger, is to get yourself out there and experience something like what I did, or something very similar. Hopefully, it's not that intense for your first time or your second time or whatever, but just don't put yourself in harm's way. But do put yourself out there, and I think the more you're exposed to it, the more your body will adapt and pick up that sixth sense to pick up what's out there.
I love that. I think going out in nature definitely heightens our sixth sense like crazy. Like you think of our ancestors. Our ancestors didn't always live in houses. They didn't always
No.
have like certain locations and things. A lot of them were outside. So also grounding. So it's a way that
Hmm.
you can ground and your energy can open up 1,000%. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And I see exactly where you're coming from with that because a lot of my spiritual experiences have been by just being outside in nature. And even at certain locations, there are a lot of things that are out in the air. You have to have an open mind if you're wanting to connect into your six senses. You have to have an open mind, but part of that is grounding. So I love the way that you address that. Thank you so much. Kristin, does that provide any other questions for you on this topic?
Yeah, I actually have a question, Chance. Can you run me through when you get this sixth sense feeling? What does your body feel like? Or maybe something tells you something. Like, what do you feel?
So that can happen in two ways, Kristen. That can happen either like if I feel like I'm sensing like something's whether it be animal, spirit, whatever, like something's like either watching me or quote unquote hunting me, I will be able to like sense that, and it's a sense that I hate. It is a sense that I dread because I have had it happen before out in the woods when I'm hunting with friends. And it is the worst possible feeling because I'm like, one, I'm back here in the boonies with my friends. I know there's no one else out here, but my duty to my friends, do I stay with my friends to make sure they're okay, or do I do the duty to myself and maybe potentially drag this thing just to me and away from them? Because it's kind of like falling on like my own sword there. Because I'd rather sacrifice myself should this thing come out and get someone. I'd rather it be me than lose one of my own friends because I've been through the loss of a friend already, and I'm sure a lot of people have too. It's like one of the worst. It's like one of the worst things in the world. But not to mention, I could have maybe prevented that. Now, if a spirit or something tells me something, it's a little bit different because then I have time to prepare myself to be like, okay, this is coming up. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have a deja vu moment where it's like, okay, I can either fight this thing or I can run from it, just depending on how I feel and how my inner spiritual self feels. If I'm fully rested, if I haven't slept for 24 hours, just how energized am I? Do I feel like tackling this thing? Can I can I kick in the butt or can I not? It's just one of those things that I have to gauge on my own. And thankfully, most of the time, I've been able to kick most things in the butt. I mean, I've had my butt kicked maybe once or twice, but then again, I don't run into stuff like you and Steph do.
No, I think that's really good to think about. And I think our listeners will be able to really engage with that because a lot of the times, a lot of people experience them in different ways, right? Sometimes you get body chills, sometimes you get those kinds of things. So thank you for sharing that. Do you think that the primal human fear of the paranormal, do you think getting into your head like that, is that how they successfully exploit you in ways?
I would definitely say certain ones do. Yes, absolutely. I would say SWs. I think Wendigo. No, is it Wendigo? I think Wendigos can partly because they can like kind of like paralyze you or draw you to them, and then finish you off where God only knows where. And I think they can also mess with your mind to make you like almost forgetful. So I've done some research upon these things. I was like, what are these things I could potentially be seeing? What are people talking about? And that's one of the things I know for sure. Now, I know like people when people think of like the paranormal, they think of like poltergeist and demonics and stuff. I would say demons not so much. I know they can. They definitely can. But I would also say like poltergeist for sure because you can actually create your own poltergeist if you focus on one thing way too much over the other. I've heard that like you can create your own poltergeist and like move certain stuff like around the room for you. But I think yeah, they can definitely wage a war on your mind. I thankfully haven't had to combat this yet, but I do know it's very, very hard sometimes to combat it. And luckily, I've not experienced it. And what little I have experienced was so weak that I was able to like just flick it pretty much, and it was like, meow, gone.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because every energy is very different, right? And some of them can know us without even knowing us, which gets very fascinating with the ways that they engage. So I can understand where you're going. Well, it depends on the energy. You know, I've experienced ABCD, and from my personal point, every energy is different. Maybe one goes towards your emotions. Maybe one goes towards your mental space. Maybe one goes towards your physical body where you start to feel ill, or you can feel temperature differences. Maybe it creates ringing in the ears. Maybe it makes it where you can't eat. There's a lot of different things that some energies can do. And it really just depends on their motive. That's the biggest thing. You could have somebody who's making somebody ill because they're lonely. You could have somebody that's causing mental stress because they're unsettled. But then you get these really, really harsh energies sometimes where they've almost done it for so long that they don't know different. And they are there to cause harm because they've been that for so long that they don't see it's 100% wrong. And that is a lot what I encounter sometimes when it comes to really, really harsh energies, is they've done it for so long, they don't know the difference, or they just don't have another outcome that they can pull out of their vessel. But what would you have to say to that, Kristin?
No, absolutely. Every energy is so different, just like us humans. We're all different and we're all learning, and they are too. In some senses, they're still learning right from wrong, and that's why it's important that people like Steph are here to help guide them.
Yeah, thank you for that. If any of you are dealing with anything in regards to harsh energies in your orbit, whether that's personally on you or in your house, please consider reaching out for Blue-Eyed Fox Tarot, because I can help restore your household and yourself. If you even have a doubt in that, maybe you're having thoughts that are not your own, maybe you're having feelings that you don't understand, it never hurts to check and making sure that you're balanced and okay, because sometimes you have no idea that certain things that are equipped that way. But this leads me into kind of a segment. So, Chance, you talk about a lot that you've spent a lot of time in the woods. Is there any specific story that you have that is kind of like a spiritual experience where you had something happen in the woods? Because I know a lot of people with hunting, they do definitely have some encounters for sure. I would love to hear that if you have anything.
Yeah, I got a few here and there. Actually, some are older and some are actually newer.
Okay.
Um, there is one from a couple years ago where me and my friends we hunted this big reservoir, and actually, I don't know. I'm sure this relates, but the actual reservoir itself, it actually underneath it all, there's a town. Where some people didn't move when the Corps of Engineers said, "Hey, we're gonna blow this dam, and if you're you're kind of still here, you're pretty much gonna die." And so there's a whole town. I'm sure there's some people. Supposedly there's still people down there because there's stories of some divers and stuff going down and getting like touched and grabbed
Oh,
and
wow.
whatnot, and hearing like screams or something similar to that. I'm like, yeah, no, this is why I don't dive in the river, in the lake. And I always feel uneasy when I get on a boat and go into the lake. But I'm like, besides that, we were hunting this really like backwoods like stretch where the only thing I think, yeah, the only way you could get to the stretch other than the way we drove in was by boat. And we walked, I think, 2.5 miles in. You know, it's archery season, so there's no firearms on any of us. Well, there's not supposed to be a firearm on any of us. I had my little handy dandy sidearm. We hunted, and right as it was getting ready about to, the sun to go down, like right at like almost last light, the woods, was alive, and you could hear birds chirping, squirrels running, all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden, it went like dead quiet. And I mean, so quiet you could hear a pin drop because there wasn't like a single breath of wind. And for me as a hunter, I knew I'm like, okay, that means there's something bigger and badder in this woods than me currently sitting here. And I'm like, that means I'm in trouble. So I get up, I pack up all my stuff because I had a climber on my end stuff, and I didn't end up using that night in a backpack. And I pack all my stuff up while it's still daylight, and I was like, and this is why I was talking about, like, do I stay here and wait for my friends to come to me, or do I draw this, whatever this is, away and try to get away? And I was like, I'm gonna try to draw this thing away and see if it follows, because they don't really believe in this. I don't think they believe in this stuff, but I know I definitely do at this point. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run away, or not really run away, but walk, and see if this thing follows. If it doesn't, we have a different problem, different situation to deal with. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, it does end up following me. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's gonna follow me. I'm like, and this is where I'm talking about my sixth sense. This is when it goes from, okay, it's quiet, but I can hear birds like up ahead, but whatever section, I don't know how far it was around me, but whenever whatever section was I was walking in, it would get dead quiet. So I knew whatever it was following me and either hunting me or just watching me. I don't know because I never did see what it was, but I probably got, I don't know, half a mile from the truck, and I could feel it getting worse. So I'm like, okay, if it's an animal, what's the simplest way to scare off an animal, right? Big loud noise. So I take out my little sidearm that I'm not really supposed to have, and I rack off like probably 3 to 5 rounds. And whatever it was, they back up. Whatever it was, backed off a little bit. So I'm like, I don't know if it was the noise or like what necessarily it was, but I was like, and I did. I mean, I yelled at this thing. I was like, "Come on, show yourself! 'Cause I know you're here. Whatever you are, show yourself." Whether whether whatever it is, and it never did. So we carried on back to, or I carried on back to my truck. My friends caught up to me, and like, well, why did you walk out so early? And I was like, oh, I just got tired and wanted to head back, whatever, because I didn't want to tell them what happened. I was like, did you guys happen to hear any shots, by the way? They're like, no. Why do you ask? I was like, oh, no reason. I thought I heard a couple shots kind of, near us. And I was like, no, we didn't hear anything. I'm like, okay. And, yeah, that night I ended up telling them, or I ended up telling one of them what ended up happening, who was more likely to believe me. And he was like, he didn't know what to make of it, but he said, are you sure you fired rounds? And I showed him the 5 empty casings that I have, and which is funny because you could smell the gunpowder if they're freshly. He took him and he whiffed one of them. He was like, yeah, you ain't lying. I was like, I don't know why I'd lie to you, brother, but okay. And yeah, so I was like, whatever. I never went back. I never been back. We've never hunted that area ever again. At least I know I haven't. I don't think they ever have either. And I was like, I don't know what it was, but it did not, whatever it was, wasn't friendly. But I don't know if it meant me harm or if it was safeguarding something. Because I know sometimes they can be mean because they're trying to, protect something or do whatever. So I don't know. I couldn't clarify that, but whatever it was, didn't want me there. And I was like, brother, you haven't bothered me all night. Why are you bothering me now? Like, back off. And so that's one story I got. Another one, I went in by myself. I do hunt a lot by myself, more so during what we call it gun season around here because we can use several different weapons. And I walked in. There's several other hunters from hunting public land, and I'm sitting on the ground, which I hate. But I'm up on a ridge, and I can kind of like, because I don't. I try to now not walk in until it's a little bit light. I can see stuff. And I'm sitting on this ridge, and all of a sudden I can hear where they just, I don't know, this crashing through the woods. It almost sounds like a deer. And this happened this year. And I'm like, okay, what the hell was that? So I I wheel around my gun hoping there's a deer coming there, and then there's just nothing. And it's not very thick. I mean, this is a very, it's a hardwoods, but it's not very dense. It's very open. And I can just hear this thing like walking around, walking around, walking around. I'm like, what in the hell is this? And at the time, I really didn't notice this at first, but I don't know if I still have the recording or not, but I took like a 10-second video, and you can hear the thing, whatever it is, walking around. But in the video, you don't hear a single bird. You don't hear a bird, a cricket, like nothing. I'm like, oh, oh no, not again. I was like, oh no, not great. I didn't even realize this. What a dummy I was. I was like, so the time I'm just sitting here going, is this a deer? What is this? Like, it has my curiosity because I don't feel anything yet. And it's probably, I don't know, probably within 800 yards of me, I'd say, if I had to judge. But I can't see it. I'm like, why can I not see this thing? And then all of a sudden, it's like a switch was flicked, and it's like, I'm being hunted. You need to leave. Like, right now. Because whatever that thing is, does not want you here and is wants to eat you. I'm like, cool. So I pack up my little bag and I'm like, I gotta scurry, gotta get out, gotta move, gotta run. And this thing, I mean, it follows me and it's like stalking me. I think it's waiting for whatever reason. It's waiting. And because I turn, or yeah, for whatever reason, I turn around and I look through my scope. All I can see in my scope, because I can still hear this thing running around. I'm like looking through it, looking for it, looking for it. I see this flash of brown. I'm like, okay, where are you? Because I know you're not a deer, whatever you are. You may be pretending to be a deer, but I know you ain't no deer. This deer, I mean, it looked sickly, whatever it was. Because it did not look normal. And me being me, I flicked off the safety. It finally stopped because I think it finally realized that, oh, he sees me. I went, I was just pow, and it still stood there. I mean, it stood there staring me down. I was like, oh, I may have just messed up. So I do it again, and I take another shot. The second shot either hits or hits near it. I mean, this thing screamed like a scream I've never heard and ran. I was like, all right, I gotta go. Bye. And I reloaded, and I mean, I took off at a slight jog. I mean, I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm pushing, quite some weight, but I'm like, I gotta go. I don't care if this run gives me a heart attack. I gotta get out of here now. And I did. I ran my happy little butt all the way back to my truck, and I got in, started my truck up, threw all my stuff in the truck, and was like, I'm out. Goodbye. Ain't never going back there. Tell you that right now.
Yeah, those stories definitely they gave me a shock. If you guys could see my face, I was just kind of stunned sitting here listening to them because you can definitely tell that those are things that are living in those woods and are targeting you. But did you have, like, after this scenario, after both of them actually, did you have any first rational thoughts or illogical explanations that reeled through your head?
The first one, I did in the beginning. I tried to rationalize it, saying it was a bobcat or it was some sort of predator that I wasn't used, because we do sometimes get the rare bear and mountain lion up here, because the bordering states to the south of us does have both, and they sometimes cross the river and get over here to our side, so it's not uncommon. And there are also now wolves being spotted in the area, which I did not know about till I read an article saying that there's being wolves spotted down in the area. I'm like, oh, great. So I try to rationalize. Could have been a wolf. Could have been a bear. Could have been a mountain lion. And the one that scared me the most was the mountain lion because they can be very, very quiet and stalk you for miles before they do a single thing. And that was my initial thought was it was mountain lion. That's what it had to be because I've come across prayers before where it's like it has given me that same feeling, but it's like somehow it just felt off. It felt more powerful, more scary. It was something bigger that I don't think I could have handled alone.
No, definitely those are some rational thoughts that I would have had too, but just hearing you talk about the second one and the scream that it made is pretty much off the wall.
Yeah, that's what sent me over the edge, for sure. Because I'm like, okay, I can rationalize a sick deer coming at me, but the minute it screamed, I'm like, no, I'm done. I was like, nah, this is not real. This isn't happening. I'm running away. This day never happened. I'm asleep. This is all a terrible nightmare. And I was like, no, it wasn't. So there I went. I couldn't rationalize that one. That one I tried to rationalize so badly, but there's no good explanation why a deer would scream, especially the scream that it made. It wasn't deer at all. It was kind of like a mountain lion, but like a little sharper and a little worse. I was like, no, that's not the creature I thought it was. I probably done made it mad. My bad. I'm just trying to protect myself.
Understandable. I mean, when I listen to these situations, and again, guys, I get a lot of downloads just as Chance is talking about these stories. It's like I'm visually seeing things as he's talking. When you first brought up the tiny town, by the way, and you talked about that you took a boat over to that location first, I actually saw a woman in the water, and she was basically about knee deep in the water, just staring at you. And what I got off of that was scout. So that energy probably scouts that area to see who's kind of coming in and out of certain areas, which is common. Like there are energies that don't travel alone. Sometimes they have a scout with them. That's actually quite more common than you think. But when your first encounter was when you were trying to separate this energy away from your friends, the one thing I saw was two energies. I saw one in the trees, actually very high up in the trees, being able to go from limb to limb to limb, which is wild that I'm seeing that in my head as someone is walking. I'm seeing something jump from limb to limb to limb. But then I also saw something kind of further away hiding behind trees and kind of scouting in a certain way where they were moving. But something had a high angle and a ground angle. And it would make sense why that energy became so dense, because it's on many levels where something could be following or watching. But the one that was up in the trees, I noticed it kind of looked like a pugwudgie, which I don't know if you know what that is, but that's exactly what it kind of looked like to me. And pugwudgies can actually silence things. They can silence where people can't hear things. They can also take smell away from the air. They are a specific energy. So it was very fascinating that I saw something like that. And a lot of the time they'll crouch. It's a very common position for them. So that was the one I saw in the tree. And then second story, when you had talked about brown, it hit me like so fast, this download of something standing pretty far in between the trees, but it's almost like I'm getting a zoom up of it, which is beautiful because you brought up you saw it through a scope. And that's exactly how I was kind of seeing it. I'm far away, but I'm seeing it a little closer. And I did see a figure that had a skull animal head with horns. So that was very mind opening when you're talking about these things. And I know that screech wasn't an animal. If I can see that type of energy off of what you're saying, I can tell it's not an animal. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that is amazing stories in a way for other people to be able to engage. But I'm glad that you came out okay, that you came out safe, because there are some people, if they don't listen to that intellect, they can get into serious trouble. But also, your friend not hearing the gunshots, I mean, that blows my mind, that an energy could cause so much denseness of no sound and nothing coming out of a certain area that it can silence something as much as a gunshot. I mean, that's mind-boggling, Chance. That's absolutely crazy.
These weapons that I carry, I mean, they're pretty loud. I mean, they're pushing, I don't know, 500 decibels easily. I mean, obviously it's enough to hurt the human ear. Especially the rifle. The rifle that I carried at the time was, I mean, that thing would leave me deaf for a good 2 to 3 minutes at one time, just shooting one round, let alone, more than that. Um, yeah, when my friends came back and they said they didn't hear anything, I'm like, you guys were less than 3 miles. You should easily be able to hear that pistol shot. There's no way that you wouldn't be able to hear that. Yeah, it boggled my mind, and I was like, how is that? How is this possible? For sure. The last one, though, I'm surprised I'm able to still go into the woods at this point, going, well, I could die today, but that's okay. Just gonna frolic through the fields and sing Kumbaya.
That's a pretty positive attitude going through experiences like you have. And seriously, thank you so much for opening this up and being vulnerable and sharing it with our listeners. I mean, these are the stories we want to get out. There are a lot of people out there that have crazy stories that you can't even fathom the experience until you really just try to explain it as much as you can. There's just sometimes no words for it. It's very, very life changing when you have these types of encounters and these experiences. So thank you for being able to share that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are also hunters that have gone through experiences in the woods, or even maybe people who love nature that have gone through certain experiences. Just kind of like how you touched on the Appalachian Mountains and stuff like that. There's been a lot of encounters and certain things in those regions and such. Kristin, do you have any other questions specifically?
Knowing what you know now, would you or do you go back to this specific spot?
I'd clarify, like, which spot you were talking about. Like, you mean, like, the one from, like, the last story?
Yeah, the story with the scream.
No, absolutely not. I will not probably go back unless I have somebody with me, so I have an eyewitness. And I can trip them and then you can, sacrifice them. Um, but no. No, in all reality, no, I haven't been back. I don't ever really plan to be back. Um, it wasn't even that fruitful of a spot, honestly. It was just kind of it looked decent on the map because we all have technology nowadays, have maps where we can see where we can hunt, and it's like, it looked decent on the map, but it wasn't really, there's hardly any sign, and I think I now know why. There's hardly anything Roman in there, but before I couldn't really tell.
Nope, that's totally understandable and probably a very wise choice.
Yeah, I would agree. If you get the heebie jeebies, is the easiest way that I can define that, you probably shouldn't go somewhere that does give you an increased method of heebie jeebies and you can't remove your memory from it at all. It's like you could be there just like yesterday. I have a few areas like that where I experience it and go, I can never step foot in that area because I know exactly what I'm going to feel as soon as I step in that area. And some energies can take advantage of that a little bit because you already are on alert. You already have the sensories up. So they know you're kind of prepared, right? And I'm sure that's probably where your mental space was, of course. So I absolutely understand that for sure. Now, obviously, some of these situations, they're bone chilling, right? But do you have something that goes above this that's like extremely bone chilling? I would love to hear. Like something that you go, wow, that's the craziest experience probably within anything that I've gone through. That's towards the kind of the same energy.
I really haven't had anything like bone chilling, like where it just made me almost grow like white hair, I guess you could say. Really happened to me. I've had some other things on the flip side that happened though, on like the positive side, not the down low and creepy. I have been quote unquote fortunate enough to not have anything like super bone chilling happen other than those. I would say those would probably be my most bone chilling moments, is that one with the scream for sure this past year.
Yeah, that's pretty bone chilling. I was just very curious because I'm like, man, if you got those stories, what else do you got in your ammo? Because
Right.
that's pretty intense, right? And
Right.
I'm even floored hearing it. And me and Chance have talked quite a bit, but some of these encounters that he has had, I am just floored what you've encountered, but also gotten out of scale free. I mean, nothing has really happened, just more of the experience of it. So we've been talking a lot about outside. Is there anything that's kind of happened inside, any type of situation in a household that has happened that you've been like, wow, I can't deny that that's definitely energy in my household. I know you talked about in the beginning where you saw a door move and you went, absolutely not. But is there anything else regarding that has happened?
I wasn't in my household. It's in my friend's household. They actually have this ghost they have dubbed Toby. And yeah, they give it a name. He's actually a friendly ghost, believe it or not. And what he likes to do is he likes to push you up the stairs. Is what he'll do. He'll sometimes be like, just push you up the stairs. I'm like, and I think there ain't no way you got a ghost that it pushes you up the stairs. Well, believe it or not, one night when I used to live there with my ex, I was walking up the stairs and all of a sudden just something just shoved me hard as hell. And I was like, ugh. And I was like, what? And I looked behind me, I was like, really? Come on now. It's like, Toby, is that you? And he pushed me again. I was like, okay, it's you. I just carried myself up the stairs. I'm like, all right, cool. Um, this doesn't really include inside a house. It was inside a vehicle. It was my senior year. I was coming back from prom from a place about an hour away. Because I was seeing a girl down south, and I was on my way back home. It was rainy. It was not nice weather, and I ended up hydroplaning at like 70, 75 miles an hour. I remember trying to turn the wheel, and my vehicle wouldn't turn. It just went straight. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And I was like, because I knew as soon as it hit the grass, I was like, one or two things is going to happen. It's either going to suck me in and fling me across into oncoming lanes and across that median, or it's going to suck me and try to flip me. And I was like, okay, I got to prepare myself for this. I mean, this is happening in seconds. And it did the second option. It tried to flip me. And I remember going through the median, looking at my speedometer. I had to slow down to 55 now. And I remember the truck going almost completely sideways, and you could feel it wanting to flip. Like everything, the cops, when they saw the skid mark, said, you should have rolled that truck of yours like 10 times. But something kept it grounded. It threw me back across the road. And on the also on the right hand side, because if you're traveling eastbound like I was, on the right hand side of the road, there's nothing but a tree line and like a deep ravine. And in the middle, obviously, is the median. So when it threw me back across the interstate there, I again just ended up looking down. I mean, mind you, I've hit my brakes. I've done everything I can to slow myself down. At this point, I've looked and I'm still doing. Last time I remember looking down, I was doing 35. This is like at the very edge of the far right hand lane going down into the ditch. I'm like, this is it. This is like where I'm gonna get either severely messed up or killed because there's nothing but trees down here. I'm like, and I know this. I'm like, oh, but I can't fly across their hill. I mean, I literally watched my speedometer just kill itself, and I just nestled right into the trees. No scratches to the truck, no damage to the truck, no damage to me. Still can't explain it. People still can't explain it. The cops couldn't explain it. The trucker, there's actually, believe it or not, there's a truck driver behind me who witnessed this all go down and saw where I went in and was like, I have no idea how you're alive right now. He said, I for sure thought I was going to walk up on you dead. I was like, nope, I'm just sitting here chilling on the phone with the cops. So I had to get a tow truck come and pick me up, but he said, there's no damage to your truck, there's no damage to the underbody, there's no damage to anything. And the cops were like, is there any damage to you? I said, nope, just shaking up a bit, but I'll be fine. Yeah, I still can't fathom that to this day, like how I didn't get hurt, how I didn't die. So I count my blessings on that one. I think somebody's watching out for me on that one.
I'm really curious because that is quite an amazing story, and you can definitely tell that the energy was very positive. During this experience, though, you probably had a lot of adrenaline running through you, right? But did you feel a sense of calm?
Believe it or not, yes, I did. There's been quite a few times where I've had a sense of calm. And it's like, I don't know why I'm scared, but it's just, this is just what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that like something or someone calmed me, or if it was just my own body going, all right, this is it. Either I stay calm or you're going to mess this up royally and get yourself in a worse spot than what's necessary. I've had that feeling a few times. I was unfortunately in a wreck, and I was the same way. After the wreck, um, I was calm as could be. I was just sitting there chilling. People were making sure I was okay. I was completely fine. Everything but where the cab part that I was sitting in was completely destroyed. Had I had a passenger, they would have been killed. Um, Everything was completely destroyed because I was in a two-door vehicle, and they had to cut me out. Other than that, I just had a few cuts from where the where they broke the window to get me out. Other than that, I was unscathed too, and I was like the medics were like, "You're very calm. Your blood pressure is like super high, and like because the adrenaline dump, and they're like, your everything's high, but in normal range, but you are just super chilled. How are you super chilled?" I'm like, probably because I know that if I didn't, I'd either probably be crying or going hysterical right now. Plus, I had to think of 1,000 things I gotta get done because now I got a bunch of paperwork to do ahead of me. So I had to make sure I had everything in line before, I got all these phone calls from my company and stuff. But yeah, I tend to stay calm. I think it's either from somebody or it's just the way I'm made. I don't know. That one though for sure was definitely somebody going, "You need to calm down, or else you're gonna mess this up." Because I remember freaking out at first. For sure, I was panicking at first, and then something was like, "Hey, chill out, take a breath." Because that adrenaline dump was gonna dump on you, and time's gonna slow down again to make sure hopefully you make the right decisions. And I did everything I could to make sure that vehicle didn't roll, and it wasn't good enough. But something kept that thing grounded. So I could feel that body. I'll never forget the way that truck felt. You could feel it just like listing hard as could be. It wanted to flip, but something just grounded it and didn't let it. And I'll forever be thankful for that.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you. I mean, definitely, it's so beautiful when you get to witness. For our listeners out there, there are some of you guys that have gone through a life threatening, almost dying experience, and you've been caught scale free, perfectly fine. And I know that's a confirmation from the universe just stating this isn't the way that you're meant to go. This is not the time that you're meant to go either. And I think it's so beautiful that you get to share that with us, because that happens to a lot more people than what people actually put out there to receive or are open enough to communicate about. I know that's a very pivotal thing that happens in many different ways, but definitely I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad that you have people who look out for you as guides, and they definitely do care for you. But most importantly, you're listening. And that's a part of it. If you are not tapped into your sixth sense and you don't pick up these signals, sometimes this stuff can happen, but sometimes it's meant to be pretty tragic if it's a learning experience in the same go. So truly, to me, I think it's because you're so in tuned that you can really see what's going on. And that's why that happened in the way that it did. But maybe if you weren't so in tuned at that time, it could have been a lot worse in order to teach you moments of going, wow, I was that close to death. Maybe I need to figure some stuff out with my life and things. And I don't know, like, what is your feedback on that? Just based on me sharing that, do you think that that's pretty pivotal as to why you picked up that sixth sense so quick, because it's already something that you have had equipped?
I mean, that was after my first initial encounter with anything, and I mean, that was kind of like that happened probably 6 months, almost close to a year before this happened, and then after that, nothing really happened, and then this happened, and I was like, yeah, I need to, because I was going through some stuff at that point in time in my life, and I was like, yeah, I need to get my stuff figured out before something could happen, and even especially in the job field that I have today, I think we're in the top 10 most dangerous jobs, and I'm trying to make sure I have everything, in line, because God forbid I would bite the dust out there on the road. I want to make sure that my family back here is taken care of, and I don't have kids or a wife or a girlfriend for that matter, but it's like my parents. I want to make sure they'd be okay, because I couldn't imagine what that would do to them, losing their only child.
That is a very touching thing to share. Thank you. And Chance, he's a truck driver, and this is a shout out to you guys as truck drivers as well. You guys really seriously put your guys' life on the line. Both of my parents are both CDL drivers. Like, they definitely have gone through a lot of driving and a lot of equipment experience. So I grew up in a family where you respect the rules of the road, right? And you really make way for semi drivers because they are truly risking their lives. So thank you, but also thank you to all of our truck drivers out there, people who are on the roads. Be safe, of course, but obviously know that there's people watching over you guys, because you are truly risking your lives. But is there any questions that you want to bring up, Kristin? Anything on top of mind?
I just have to ask this because it is a beautiful story and it really puts into perspective how amazing the spiritual world can be in even just engaging in a situation like that. Do you think this was a true pivot into anything? Did you have any other thoughts? I know you had talked about your faith and then you had touched on a few other subjects, but was there anything pivotal about this in this moment?
I mean, I'd say so. Being open my eyes to there's other things than I guess what most people would consider, your angels and stuff. I mean, it definitely opened my eyes to like the other. I don't know. I feel like it'd be like a golden like light as like an angel would come down and be like, "No, I'm gonna save you today." It's like, yeah, there's none of that. There's just an invisible force going, "Hey, I'm here. We're gonna make sure you're all right." And then they're gone, and then they just like they're never there. It took me a while to realize that because I'm like, 'cause I couldn't figure, like I said, I couldn't figure out why the truck wouldn't roll. And it took me a while to talk to, like, again, I think I talked to priests, I talked to other spiritual people who are not like from my same religion, who are from the outside. I even talked to Steph about it, and I was like, "What's your take on this?" Several years later, after almost 2 years later after this happened, she's like, "There's definitely, everyone else was like, there was definitely something or someone watching over you, for sure."
That's absolutely beautiful and such a, I don't even want to say cool experience, but for lack of better words at the moment, it is a very cool experience for you to just take in.
I mean, definitely is now. I mean, looking back on it, now that I'm old, everything turned out okay. It's definitely cool. I've had, with me driving, I've had several different experiences too now, but it's like in the moment, not so cool. And afterwards, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's definitely a definitely cool experience that people are like, oh, that's so neat you got experience in that. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't cool in the time, but nowadays.
Well, thank you still. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that is such a beautiful experience that you get to call your own. And I think those things really is what life's about. Life is about going through the crazy, going through the happy, going through the unknown, going through certain types of situations. And that's what spirituality is all about. It's never what you're ever going to expect when spirituality comes into your life. So if you are somebody who hasn't really had a whole lot of spiritual encounters or things of that measure, you might be surprised what spiritual encounters are actually going on that you're not calling spiritual encounters. And that is very, very true. But some of them, they're right in your face. I mean, you can't deny it. I absolutely understand when Chance talks about things slowing down. It's almost like things are going through slow mo. And I know some of us have had those encounters for sure, that things just all of a sudden you're kind of in this bend of time where you actually have more time to think. And if that's happened to you guys, 1,000%, that's energy helping you on the other side. Really see the situation and what's about to happen. And just like Chance's situation, I've heard many of these stories, people coming to me, just like Chance, going, what do you take from this? I've had a lot of people come with their experiences, and it's so heartwarming that that's a part of my life, that I get to hear people's experiences and digest it with them and really show them like, wow, this is something to appreciate, because there are a lot of people who feel alone in the world. And even something as simple as this story can give a lot of hope to people, going, wow, maybe I have been saved without realizing that I was saved in a way. So it's very eye opening. So thank you. And it leads me to a question that I'm curious about, because you've had all these experiences, but has there been anything that has really recently happened that's spiritual that you would like to have known and share with us?
As of recent, no, because I've unfortunately been off the road for quite some time. But there is one right when I began that I didn't necessarily believe in. Um, there was a story there. Truckers will know what I'm talking about. If anybody else is a trucker will know what I'm talking about when I say there's a myth or a legend called the black dog that only appears when you're super tired. It can do, I think, like one of three things. It can protect you, it can prevent you from killing someone, killing yourself, or it can kill you, and it's like your time to go.
Wow.
This is when I think I just got my CDL license not too long before this. I was working for a company that I just got off my trailer truck. I was coming to Florida, out of Florida, going back home. I was in Bowling Green, Kentucky, going through some construction late at night, and I was tired. I mean, I was pushing my limits. Coming down this hill to this construction zone, all of a sudden my truck, with the new, trucks nowadays have like crash collision avoidance. All of a sudden I see this black object come flying across the road and disappear. I mean, it locked up my truck. I mean, it was like, I heard the whole and everything with my brakes and everything locking up. And no more than that did that happen coming down the hill. I'm now coming back up the other side of this hill. All of a sudden, my air pressure just bleeds like there's no tomorrow. I'm like, are you serious? And no more than I get pulled over, else my air brakes just pop. Fast forward, the tow truck gets there. He says, "Yeah, you blew you cut. It looked like you almost cut the airline up somewhere where it was humanly impossible to reach by human unless you were up under the truck like he was. It was physically impossible to reach it, and somebody had cut the lines." And then fast forward even more, I told my friends, some of my other trekking friends, what happened. They're like, "Yeah, what you saw was the black dog." He said, "Was there any footage of this? Because the camera should have been triggered." They said, and I called in my company and said, "Hey, was there any footage on such and such date at such and such time?" They're like, "Nope, not a thing was captured. Truck never sent over a thing. It did show that there was a collision avoidance event, but the camera was not triggered and there was no footage of it at all."
Wow. Yeah, that's mind blowing, especially, I'm assuming, late at night, right?
Yeah, this was anywhere between 12 and 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah. High activity at those hours for sure. Guys, that's if something does not have sometimes the best intention, a lot of that activity comes out in the middle of the night. It's a very common thing. Especially, I'd be curious where the moon phases were at that point. I am that person. I definitely could see that maybe there wasn't a whole lot of moonlight for sure, because that's kind of the vibe I pick up a little bit, is that it was a darker night than usual. And because of that, that would make it a lot easier for this energy to move. But the camera picking up the anti-collision is a massive thing. I used to be a manager over truck drivers. I know what these cameras are like. I've actually seen them set up, see what they see, and etc. So I know exactly what Chance is talking about. And there's no way that could register unless something actually passed towards the front of the vehicle for that register to even go off at all. But the fact that you don't catch anything on the camera, that's not a coincidence. It's absolutely not. Something's really trying to move fast as it can. But I'm also, again, glad that you're okay, because that's pretty intense to have something mechanically happen to your truck, but there's no proof of anything going on. Very fascinating. What would you have to say, Kristin, towards this story?
No, everything you said, I didn't really have any words when I was listening to it, just because how do you look at that in your brain? How do you look at that situation in your brain and go, "Yeah, that definitely happened." I'm sitting over here just stunned for words, in all honesty.
I was the same way. I was like, because my friends told me about this stuff. I was like, "Oh, they're just pulling my leg, whatever." And all of a sudden, when it did happen, I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Okay, maybe it's not just a hoax. Maybe it is real." And there is one time I have seen him since, but nothing did happen other than I did see him, and I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna pull over right where I'm at and just take a snooze." I'm like, "Nope, I ain't doing this again. I ain't playing chicken with you, boy. You ain't getting me." I was like, "Nope, I'm pulling over. You ain't getting me." So there was a rest area a mile down the road, and I was gonna keep pushing. So I had 5 hours left on my clock, but I'd been up for almost 24 hours due to some unforeseen things going on. And I was like, "Nope, I'm done. I ain't playing chicken with you. We're done. We're shutting down." My dispatch was like, "Why are you shutting down so early?" Like, listen, listen, Linda, listen. I no. They're like, "Okay." So yeah, but no, I mean, first time I saw him or it, whatever it is, was just baffling. I couldn't imagine that there was no recording, no nothing. I mean, these things don't just go off for like anything. It has to be like human sized or bigger for those trucks to like lock up like mine did. I mean, and it has to be like right there within a certain amount of feet. Like I mean, like literal feet. I think ours is set up for like 20 feet. It has to be within before it'll like lock up the entire truck. And I mean, this thing like locked up. And I mean, I wasn't even paying attention. Like, I mean, when I say I wasn't paying attention, like I was looking ahead, scanning the road, but I wasn't looking like directly in front of me because I'm in a construction zone. What's gonna come running out like right, like 2 feet in front of my truck? Nothing other than unless it's a deer, which you ain't gonna stop and slow down anyways. That thing, you're just gonna obliterate and keep going. But no, so I was like, just mind my own business, jamming out, and all of a sudden it's, and I was like, oh. Saw that flash of whatever. I mean, this thing isn't small either. Like when they said black dog, I was like, was it like a miniature like Chihuahua or something skimpering across the road? Oh hell no! It is like a full grown like Timberwolf, like just or like Hellhound or something, just just flying across the road. I'm like, oh no, that's a big dog. All right, cool. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we don't play with monsters, do we?
No.
Um, that sounds very cringy, especially if it's again in the middle of the night and you're witnessing these kinds of things. And no, thank you for sharing that perspective. And it'll be interesting to see if you are a truck driver. I would love to hear some comments if you've had these kinds of experiences too. Like if you've seen exactly what he's talking about, I would be very fascinated to hear your guys' stories. If you've kind of had the same encounters. Now, obviously, we hinted into, hey, do you have some very intense stories? And you went, oh, I actually have some really positive experiences. So I want you to take a second to share some of those positive experiences that you've had with spirituality. I know we've been talking about some pretty off the wall, kind of chilly willy, heebie jeebies kind of vibes. But I kind of want you to have the floor and just tell us about these positive experiences that you've had too, because there's duality in spirituality. So I would love to hear that too, of course.
Right. Obviously, there's always two sides to a story. There's two sides to a spiritual. There's the dark, deep, and creepy, and then there's the light and the good. It's like the yin and yang and for everything else that there is in the world. My good stories are very limited, but hold a little bit more meaning. Um, there was obviously the one with the person that went missing in the beginning. Um, there's been a few others since then. There's been one where I knew something was wrong or something was happening or gonna happen with someone who wasn't part of my family, but was like a super close family friend, and that like I loved and cherished deeply. I was just having like such a good day at school, but I knew something was up because I was just having a terrible week all week, but like just this one day was like just super awesome, super great. Nothing could go wrong. It almost seemed like, and when I got off the bus to go home, I knew something was up because my entire driveway was filled with vehicles that I knew, and unfortunately, one of my mom's closest friends and one of my dearest friends ended up losing the battle to ALS that day, and I just knew something was up, and I mean, it was to come off that high and to come low, but I think something was like you needed that high so you can take that low. There seems to be a lot of that for me, um, especially me being the only, I guess, quote unquote man in the house. My mom needs somebody to lean on, and I tend to take that burden, along with I tend to take a lot of burdens from my friends. Unfortunately, my best friend lost his other best friend due to a car wreck a couple years ago, and I try to be that solid rock for him because I can't imagine if I lost him. I don't know what I'd do. I'd go insane. He's been my friend for I don't know 10 plus years, and they grew up together. So I couldn't, and he was 17 at the time, and I can't. So I couldn't. Like, I couldn't imagine losing someone that young. And so yeah, I tried to be that rock for him, and ultimately I couldn't do it. I wasn't. I try to will myself for that, but I know that once he put his friend in the back of the hearse, I lost all my composure. I was like, a repeat was is that I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That's all I could say. I didn't know what else to say other than I'm sorry, and just give him the biggest hug I can give him because he was not a very emotional man, but I knew that I could just feel the hurt. I could just feel the hurt on top of my own pain because I actually knew the guy for a short time was a great man, great, wanted to be a priest, all this stuff, and it was so sad. And so I think I call it very unfair that his life was snuffed out over something so silly as a car wreck. It's like he had I think, a lot of bright future ahead of him, and to have that happen and watch my friend go through it, and he's never been the same since. And it sucks to see that, like, even a lot of my friends' sparkle go out, and he's just never recovered. It's like I couldn't imagine going through that. I would lose my mind and probably be like him, if not worse. Just sink into like a dark hole and just not want to come out. And I can't blame the guy, but it's like, I tried to talk to him and said, you gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep willing your way one way or the other because that's not what your friend would want. He wouldn't want you in this deep dark hole. He'd want you to live and be happy and do the things that he wanted to do and live your life. So that's what I had to do. And I think he's had a few things from his friend happen to him that only his friend would do. So it makes me happy that he's kind of experienced some things. I've experienced some things from him. I've gotten signs that he's okay. I've gotten signs from a few other friends who unfortunately took their life due to certain things that they're at least okay in the spiritual realm. Heck, I've gotten signs from a dead dog that was really cool. He was in the chest of a hawk. There's a picture. Actually, I have a picture. I'll have to find the picture. And he looks just like he does. And his name was Riley. He was a Arendelle, I think is what it's called. Yeah, there's a big old hawk with like his face in the chest, and that was his way of telling me he's okay. And a lot of my stuff actually happens to me in my dreams. A lot of my fighting, a lot of my trying to figure out what things are happening to me in dreams. I've had a lot of dreams with my recently deceased grandfather. He was my best friend and my biggest supporter, and I've gotten the word that he's okay, and that's all I cared about. I mean, I couldn't unfortunately be there when he passed because I was out doing my job, but my mom was there, and she said that when he went, she had to leave the room for 2 seconds, and when she came back, he was gone. And I was like, that's him. He'd be the one to sneak away. He always was the one just to sneak away. Anytime I was out at his community lake and I would fish, he'd come by, check on me, and I'd be talking to him. All of a sudden, I'd turn around and we'd stop talking. I think he'd be staying there. Hell no. He's halfway back across the lake to his house. I'm like, bro, you're old and slow. How are you so fast? Get back here. Like, come back. But no, no, I've gotten a lot of signs from a lot of different people. I got a sign from my friend that had ALS. I've asked, how are you doing? Please, anything, move something. I don't care what it is. Move something. Give me something. Give me a feeling that you're all right. I had the most surreal one from my grandfather this past year because my my mother went with me on a few of my hunting trips, and one morning that sun, you couldn't have. It was a cold morning, but you couldn't have asked for a more beautiful sunrise. And I was like, I know you're here. I know you're with us. 'Cause that's how it started. It was us three. And then it was just us two. So I was like, I know you're alright. I know you're here with me. Just watch over me. He was the first person I ran to after I graduated. He's my biggest supporter. He went nothing but the best for me. And but yeah. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of good signs from different people. Nothing that's like spectacular other than one story, but I'll save that for a little later.
No, thank you so much. That's so touching to hear. I love it. I was tearing up over here. I had to catch my composure a little bit because I can feel how thankful people are that you're checking in on them. That's a big thing I feel 1,000% as you're talking about it. There's like this very loving, affectionate feeling. But I love the fact that when you saw that sunrise, you knew your grandpa was with you. It wasn't a doubt out of your mind. You definitely were able to understand and connect the dots, and you go, I know you're here. And I think that is such a beautiful thing that you're going to be able to carry with you for the rest of your life. I think that is magnificent. And also being there for your friend. I mean, there are reasons why we have people come into our lives for sure. And I know the reason why you're meant to come into his life. You're meant to be a friend to him that he truly needs. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, Chance. So again, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing these beautiful situations that have happened in your life too. Whether they were lessons or they were just experiences or truly just straight up blessings. And there's no way that you can see it differently. Cherishing life is so important, but also knowing that it doesn't end here is also very important. Knowing people that it's like, you know what? Yeah, you may not be here, but you're not feeling pain. You're not feeling sorrow. You're not feeling all the humanly emotions. You're now free. You get to be with loved ones. You get to explore the world. Like time is an illusion. It's such a beautiful thing for spirits, for sure. But Kristin, what would be your insight on this, all these stories?
These stories in particular, also kind of like the other ones, have me, I don't want to say flabbergasted, but because it's such beautiful experiences and things that you've witnessed, it kind of takes my breath away because you're able to be vulnerable about them and you can just, even though there's sorrow there, you can feel and see the calmness that you kind of encapsulate in them. And so I am incredibly proud of you and thank you for sharing them.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure for sure. It's hard to talk about sometimes, but I'm glad I can share. 'Cause I'm sure there's other people out there that either have been through the same thing or very similar things that sometimes they don't want to talk about, and sometimes they need to talk about it because it can heal yourself in a way. Trust me, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about all the ones that I've lost, especially my grandfather. I've struggled with some things that I've done and since he's gone, and I just keep asking him to help uh, guide me down the right path because really wasn't ready for him to go the way that he did, and I hate the way they did. He had dementia or Alzheimer's. I can't remember which one's which, but he had or he had both technically. But when he went, like you said, Steph, he wasn't in pain no more because he was in pain and he was uncomfortable, and I was. It finally got to a point where we're just like, just go, buddy. Please, just go. We do as much as we want you here on Earth. There's no more need for you to suffer. Just please go. And finally he did go, and it sucks, but I know that his younger self that has the memories of what he has accomplished in our life. So it makes me happy again that he's well and he can now remember again. That was the biggest thing that hurt, and to watch the deterioration of the mind. And it's kind of scary too on that note to see what the human body can do to you, for sure.
No, again, thank you. And you're absolutely right. Even with somebody who has dementia and Alzheimer's towards the end of their life, when you leave this existence, you get everything. You collect it all back. And you could go at any point of your life, whatever you decide, you can go to that point of your life and review it and relive it. But also, that person never goes away. Guys who are listening, if you feel alone, if you feel like someone's not there, if you've gone through a loss in your life, I promise you those people don't go away. In fact, they heighten like crazy around you. It's just sometimes you got to be open to those signs and how they are coming in and kind of witnessing, but also just like Chance has had, he's asked for signs. He goes, I don't even care if you move a cup, do something so I can know that you're okay. And that's really all it takes, guys, is just that little touch of communication. It may not be an instant thing sometimes, but when that moment hits, you cannot undeny that that's exactly what's going on, because the presence is so much there that it's right in your face. It's undeniable. So thank you again, Chance, for sharing such vulnerable points. And I love that your grandpa is with you and other people are with you too. You clearly have a very high psyche. You've gone through quite a bit of experiences. It's a no-brainer. You definitely are tapped in for sure. And it's beautiful how your experience has actually opened that a lot, whether it's something to be cautious of or something to really be open to. And a lot of people out there are going through hard times. So if you're listening right now and you guys are going through hard times, please know that there are people like us who want to be there for you. We want to support you. We want to listen to you. You have an open vessel to us. You will accept you with open arms. Chance is exactly that same way. He's the type of person that would look at somebody and want to be the best version of himself for them, and vice versa. And those people do exist. So if you really are in an aspect of life where you're going through struggle, I promise there's people around that want to help you and everything. So this leads me to our final question. We've had a wonderful time with you, Chance. So the last thing that I do kind of want to ask is there like the most unique kind of experience that has happened to you? Like, what's a unique type of situation that's happened to you where you almost can't put words to it? I know you've had other situations, but I think there's one more.
Yeah, there's a one-off that I have that not many, I would say, get treated to. I know I definitely wasn't ready for this visit, for sure. This happened, so this probably happened 6 years ago. I was still in high school. I was laying in bed. I had awoken, so to give you guys a bit of a picture here, and for the listeners as well, the way my old bedroom was set up is if you're laying in my bed or sitting in my bed looking at my closet, which would be directly in front of my bed, so slightly to the left is a doorway. To the left is like my dresser. To the right is a window. In the corner to the right is like my another dresser and TV. I'm laying in bed. I get woken up for one reason or another, and I don't know yet why. I'm like, okay, whatever. So like, I mean, I bolt straight up because something's like, hey. I'm like, huh? So I'm like, okay. I'm like looking around the room, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. Cool. All of a sudden, like right from my closet door that's closed, is bright golden, like most pure light you've ever seen, like pure white golden light starts like forming, and all of a sudden they're sitting there is this dude but the light's so bright. I mean, mind you, I'm like sitting here petrified right now at the moment, but the feeling that it gave off was not like I'm gonna harm you. It was a very warm, like comforting type energy for sure. But I didn't know what it was at first. There's just this dude standing here like in front of me going, not saying the word, not doing anything, and I can't see like a face. I can't see anything. He's probably, I don't know, he's like almost like 7 foot tall. And I'm like, bruh, like who is you? And all of a sudden there's these two massive wings just spread out, and they're the most purest white and gold that I think I've ever seen. I don't know if it's from like the light or what, but it was like I was so dumbstruck. And he reaches down in front of me and hands me these three objects. And I can't remember what he says something, but I can never remember what he said. And I don't think I'm supposed to till this certain time comes. But he hands you these three objects and says, "God is with you." That's the one thing I can remember is he says, "God is with you and God is watching." He makes a sign of the cross in front of me and then vanishes. And then I pass out. Like I remember like waking up going, "Was that real?" Like I was like, 'cause, dreams can be very surreal. I'm like, there's no way that wasn't real. Cause like I can remember feeling like my sheets and just everything. I was like, there's no way. There's no way that wasn't real. So anyways, I talked to my parents. They're like, maybe it was an angel. We don't know. She says, I do, obviously in my small town, everyone knows everyone. So we happen to know the current priest of my church. And we're like, let's go talk to him. He's like, okay. So we like go waddling into the church one night, and it's him and I think a student, and I think the deacon of my church is there at the time for some weird reason or another. I asked all three of them. I told them what happened. They kind of look at each other like they're stunned. They can't believe like what they just heard. They believe that I came across the Archangel Michael. I think is who it was. And he gave me three pieces of something that's mentioned in the Bible that's supposed to be for like safekeeping. I'm like, well, what or who and how am I supposed to protect these things? Because these things don't physically exist. Even though I could physically see the 3 blocks or whatever the heck he gave me, they don't longer exist in my possession. So they're somewhere in my room, in my boot, in my clothing, somewhere. In my body, I don't know. They're somewhere, but I'm supposed to protect these things. I mean, how in the world am I supposed to protect them, and against what? And so the priest pulls out this book and is like, this is all it gives you," and it like names like what it is and like what it supposedly does, but he didn't know like how or like what I'm supposed to protect it from. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just be notified whenever this is gonna go down. I wonder if I get another visit from Michael. But yeah, that's the most one-off, like out of this world, cannot explain, cannot fathom like experience I've ever had.
Wow. That is a very cool story. That one gave me really nice chills in my body, and I appreciate, thank you for sharing that. It's a big story, but I do have a question. It doesn't sound like it, but perchance have you had any like inklings to remind you of that encounter? Or are you still kind of waiting on what the message is from that?
I'm still waiting for what the message was upon this. There's When I say I fight things in my dreams, I mean there's been a few times where it's like I've where you it's what is it, where you have like an out of body experience, and I'm like this 7 tall like foot like whatever. I mean I've had these dreams where it's like I'm 7 foot tall. I have this sword, but yet I can fly. I can't see whatever the heck I'm flying with, so I'm assuming it's wings. But I mean I've seen some really gnarly demonic things that definitely should not be where they are. And I mean, I have woken up with like bruises and cuts that I cannot explain. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I roll and toss and turn in my sleep, but I mean, it's nothing like I feel like a car has like ran me over several times sometimes when I wake up. Hasn't happened in a while, but it does happen. But I'm like, maybe that's what I'm protecting it from is something really demonic. And maybe they're working through me in some way that I don't know, but I've never been really physically given instruction from either him or anyone else.
I think it's absolutely amazing, and I think that is exactly how they wanted this to play out. They don't want you to know because I feel like if you knew the details of it, it wouldn't play out how it's supposed to.
Right, I feel like, if for some reason they did, divulge everything to me, that the information, God forbid something happens to me, could fall in like the wrong hands or something. So they're like, here's little inklets and bits that you get. We're just going to hand you this very important 3 objects, but not tell you what they're for and what they can do. But you'll figure it out in your time. Don't worry. It's like, okay, cool.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, I do color therapy. So the impact of colors in meditation is something that I teach. And it's so beautiful, the colors that you're describing, because gold, a lot of the time, what gold is it's a harmony in male energy. That's a lot of the time what it is. So when you're talking about gold, it also can be a harmony in masculine and feminine energy. So someone who's got that equal give and take, but it's mainly known as a male energy. But it's also an embrace of self-worth. And I think at that time you needed self-worth. That I definitely do feel at that time. Like you had maybe been going through some things that it's like, I'm going to gift you things that create a self-worth value specifically. And I want you to keep these things safe. But also it's a reception of giving energy. And he gave you tools. And Archangel Michael is actually known for 3 tools. I've actually studied into this stuff. So it's such a pivotal monument for me because I have studied that he has 3 tools. So the fact that I have met somebody who has also been gifted 3 tools by Archangel Michael is no coincidence whatsoever. He mainly is known for a sword, a shield, and some justice scales. That's what he's known for. So the fact that it's a trifecta is a massive thing. I mean, that's huge because that shows a lot of trust. I think he also sees you going in the same path as him. Like you're helping people, you're protective of others, you're very in tune to people's feelings and other things. But the people who are in tuned into those things, we feel the most. Like it's a lot of us that feel the most because we're trying to relieve that from not just ourselves, but humanity, whether it's a family member, a friend, a stranger, whatever the case may be. But that white, as soon as you brought up the white and the gold, but definitely the white wings, I felt innocence. That was the word that came to my mind as you expressed this. And truly, that's the easiest way that you can express an angel's energy. I love Archangel Michael. I've had many encounters with him. He is a phenomenal energy, and he does carry the sacred purity, but so do a lot of the archangels. They do carry the sacred purity, but some of them have more essence to purity, and some of them kind of have different other feelings. Like my birth angel, he's very logical, like extremely logical. And he does carry a different energy than Archangel Michael does. It's very serious energy. It's not like it's coming from a disrespectful tone, but he does carry a definitely different style of energy. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's beautiful. I think that's something that, again, some of these experiences you can carry with the rest of your life. And I would be very curious out there to hear if anybody else has had angel encounters, because there could be people who have had these types of encounters that they don't know exactly who to tell, because of course, by you experiencing those things, you go, is it a dream? Am I crazy? Did that really happen? Maybe I talked to somebody. Like, it's hard to correct that, you know, but it also makes me think of a Bible verse. It does, but it makes me think of the term thief in the night. And it's true. It makes me think of that a lot, because he did wake you up and then he appeared. And in a way, when someone appears like that in the nighttime, you're going, are you a threat? And he wasn't a threat. So it totally gives that essence of that scripture to me. It very much sticks out like a sore thumb. But any other comments from you, Kristin?
I think you summed that up perfectly. I think the way you put that was absolutely wonderful, and I'm just awestruck by this story. Quite honestly.
Yeah, a whole lot of awestruckenness going on. And obviously that is our final time. So Chance, now that you've shared this complete testimony with our listeners, is there any final thoughts or reflection you would want to leave with them about the natures of transcendence and the unseen forces of the world, so to speak?
Stay safe. Stay safe, stay happy, stay positive. Keep on the grind and don't give up.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time. And maybe we'll have you back at some point soon to check in and see if there's any other experiences, you know?
For sure, for sure. Hopefully when I get back on the road, things will pick up. Not too much, but enough.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Appreciate being on here.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and open. I'm gonna be stuck on these stories all night. Probably won't sleep.
Chance, your testimony today has been a powerful transmission. The details you've provided specifically regarding all of these highlighted ups and downs, specifically encounters in the woods, on top of going through drives with friends and feeling skin crawls for miles, as well as something as pivotal as being there for your best friend, highlighting angel work. It's exactly the kind of evidence that you just cannot remove from your memories. Thank you for your courage in taking your time.
This entire episode proves once again that the most compelling proof of spiritual warfare is the personal account. We've moved through the evidence and the action, and now we move into the restoration that comes from sharing truth.
If this episode resonates with you, and especially if you are holding onto your own detained transcendent story, we want to hear it. The interview slots are open.
Please submit your paranormal stories on our website to have a chance to be featured on our podcast and share your personal testimony. Access our links in the description below.
You can also connect with us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Links are in the description below. You can also visit us via our website at www.transcendencemagnetized.com.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
Until next time, keep following the whispers.